Looking ahead a decade, the expectation of Matthew Vaughn and Mark Millar bringing Kick-Ass 3 to cinema has failed to materialize, despite occasional updates from the cast and creators suggesting progress on the elusive third film. It never transitioned into full-scale development. Today we're going to discuss everything we know about Kick-Ass 3. Instead, Vaughn's focus has predominantly been on expanding the Kingsman spy franchise, leaving little room for Kick-Ass. Meanwhile, Miller and collaborator John Romita Jr. continued to advocate the Kick-Ass comic book storyline with the introduction of new hero Patience Lee in 2018, potentially laying the groundwork for future film adaptations. Recently, there seemed to be a glimmer of hope for Kick-Ass fans. In late 2021, Miller suggested that previous expectations for Kick-Ass 3 were essentially dashed, while Vaughn hinted at a big reboot in the works for around 2023, teasing its extreme nature without divulging specifics. The main obstacle preventing the release of a third Kick-Ass film is the comparatively low commercial success of the second installment. While the first film ranked in $97 million globally, exceeding its $28 million budget and earning additional revenue from DVD sales, the sequel Kick-Ass 2 only managed to pull in $63 million against a similar budget. Furthermore, it received less favorable reviews from critics. Chloë Grace Moretz expressed her thoughts on the matter in August 2014, attributing the lackluster performance partly to piracy. Chloë stated, "You make movies for the fanboys, but nowadays everyone seems to pirate them rather than watch them in the movie theater. Kick-Ass 2 was one of the #1 pirated movies of the year, but that doesn't help us because we need box office figures. We need to prove to the distributors that we can make money from a third and fourth movie. But because it didn't do so well, we can't make another one." In 2015, Matthew Vaughn, who only served as a producer for the second film, hinted at the possibility of a prequel as a means to generate enough interest for a potential Kick-Ass 3. However, while Kick-Ass 3 might not materialize, there is definite momentum building for a third Kick-Ass movie. Instead of a direct sequel, Matthew Vaughn has revealed plans for a reboot. He first mentioned the reboot in 2021, emphasizing the need for a courageous actor or actress to take on the lead role. Vaughn described the project as insane and hinted at bringing it to fruition once the rights revert back to them. Fast forward to the present, Vaughn has revisited the topic of the Kick-Ass reboot. During an interview with Sci-Fi Wire at New York Comic Con, he disclosed intentions to start filming the reboot, which he describes as a refreshing change of pace. Vaughn and Mark Millar have maintained a tight lead on the specifics surrounding the reboot. It's also uncertain where the reboot will debut, although Netflix's acquisition of Miller World in 2017 suggests the streaming platform could be a likely candidate. As for the storyline, clues may be found in the original comics. In early 2018, Image Comics launched Kick-Ass the New Girl, introducing a fresh protagonist named Patience Lee, who assumes the mantle of the superhero. Patience Lee steps into the role previously held by Dave Liszewski, portrayed by Aaron Tyler Johnson in the first two films. The synopsis for the initial volume of The New Girl sets the stage for the return of Kick-Ass, albeit with a new face under the iconic mask. Adapting this storyline offers Vaughn and the filmmaking team an opportunity to reboot the franchise while existing within the same universe as the previous films, potentially leaving the door open for the return of those characters in the future. No cast members have been officially announced for the third Kick-Ass film, which appears to be gearing up for a reboot. Vaughn mentioned during a New York Comic Con panel that none of the characters from the previous films will be featured initially, but there is a desire to reintroduce them post-reboot, hinting at a shared universe. However, it's unlikely we'll see Dave or Hit Girl in this iteration. Chloë Grace Moretz expressed enthusiasm for Matthew Vaughn's involvement in a potential third film during a 2022 interview with Yahoo, suggesting a willingness to return if circumstances permit. If the reboot succeeds, there may be a chance for her character's comeback. Regarding casting for Patience, Mark Millar mentioned on Twitter in 2018 that Tessa Thompson was a standout choice for the role. Thompson, known for her roles in Thor Ragnarok and Creed, showed interest in the part. However, this remains speculative, and whether this casting will materialize remains uncertain. In January 2010, a preview clip of the film received backlash from family advocacy groups due to its violence and the use of strong language, including a line delivered by 12-year-old Chloë Grace Moretz. Critics such as Australian Family Association spokesman John Morrissey found the language offensive and criticized the film's values, contrasting it with the traditionally bloodless victories of superheroes. Moretz in response expressed disbelief at her character's dialogue, stating that if she used similar language in real life, she would face severe consequences. Despite her role, she identified herself as an average girl and found it difficult to discuss the film publicly, referring to it as the film in interviews and kick butt at home. Christopher Mintz-Plasse observed a double standard in the criticism, noting that while people took issue with the language, they seemed less concerned about the violence depicted by Hit Girl. Before Deadpool and Logan made waves, Kick-Ass paved the way for successful already superhero films with its graphic violence and explicit language. While Kick-Ass 2 didn't match the first film's critical or commercial success, it generated enough buzz to fuel talks of Kick-Ass 3. Director Matthew Vaughn's focus on the Kingsman series has put the Kick-Ass franchise on hold, but now Vaughn has shifted his attention back to Kick-Ass, signaling a potential revival. So Matthew Vaughn, the director behind the original Kick-Ass film from 2010, has dropped some major news about the upcoming reboot. He's not just planning one movie, he's aiming for a whole trilogy. After directing the first Kick-Ass and its 2013 sequel, Vaughn announced in 2023 that the franchise would be rebooted, with filming set to begin in 2024. In a recent interview with Collider, Vaughn spilled the beans, revealing that not only has the first film in the reboot trilogy already been shot, but the scripting process for the third film, titled Kick-Ass, is also well underway. But before we get to Kick-Ass, there are two other films to look forward to: School Fight and Ram. Vaughn stated, "We're halfway through the script. There is a very, dare I say it, and it's gonna be a cliche coming out of this head of mine. It is a very meta universe. It is what you know Kick-Ass was reinventing and creating an R-rated superhero, and no one was really doing it. This is taking that whole concept to a worthy, not even a sequel, because I think it's just a whole new way of doing Kick-Ass, which couldn't be more Kick-Ass. The trilogy will be School Fight, this movie, let's call it Ram for the time being, and then Kick-Ass, and they're all connected. So when this Ram is finished, I think this will launch. I'll be conservative on this. If we're lucky, Toronto. If we're not lucky, Sundance. Well, this year, next year, if you know what I mean." Matthew Vaughn also mentioned that School Fight has already been filmed, and while Ram is currently in the works, there aren't any film plans to wrap up the trilogy before releasing the first movie. Judging by the title of the initial two films, it seems like they're setting the stage for Kick-Ass, which will likely serve as the conclusion of the story. However, since it's a reboot, it means we won't see original stars like Aaron Tyler Johnson and Chloë Grace Moretz returning. This subversive superhero comedy is taking an unconventional route with this trilogy, starting with titles that don't directly reference the franchise. Yet considering the recent popularity of dark comedies featuring superpowers like The Boys, there is a good chance the series will be well received. Despite a different cast, Vaughn's involvement suggests it will maintain the original duology's tone. While the details about the movies themselves remain scarce, the distinctive titles hint at a fresh approach to the series. It's conceivable that Kick-Ass could just be the beginning of a broader narrative, depending on Vaughn's vision for the first two installments. With the reboot trilogy already well into production, it's only a matter of time before more details emerge about what audiences can expect. That's all about today's video. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon to get notified to our upcoming videos. Let us know your opinions in the comment section below.